Well, hello there. Just a couple of quick thoughts on me on something I read in the paper earlier today, I think from yesterday's paper. Disappointed me slightly. So I'm going to give my comments on the subject. And I'm probably going to fall flat on my face because I don't know a hell of a lot of the background of the real facts. And when you give comments on something when you don't know the real facts, you tend to often end up with egg on your face. But it's sad to me. It's regarding that top Northwest team called Everton. We have done a couple of things on them in the past. For those that don't know it, my son-in-law and grandson are huge fans. More so my son-in-law. My grandson's only 7, but he's going to become a ginormous fan if his dad's got anything to do with it. He'll be at the final game next Sunday, probably with his banner or flag, get the board out and so on and so forth. But I sort of like the team because I like the fans, I like their attitude, I feel sorry for the fact that they've gone so long without winning anything. I think they're a good fan base and very passionate. Many in the in every league are, but I think Everton particularly. I don't know. There's something about them I like. And anyway, I read a piece about Graham Sharp. I believe he's a non-executive director or non-executive on the board. I think he does things in his own time for the board. Doesn't get paid, I believe. Has a little input, but probably only a little. And he's one of the many board members that have come under attack by sections of the fans there and in the media for being associated with that board. He may have said, I've done some wrong things. I mean, none of us are perfect. But I was just saddened to read that since January, I think when the hate mob were probably at the loudest at Everton, he's never been to a game since, and I just thought that was so very sad. You know, they mentioned in the paper that Graham Sharp is probably what Dalglish is to Liverpool, and who did they mention? Summerby is to City, and Sir Bobby Charlton is to Man United. And I got all that, and I thought, I could never imagine any of those 3 ex-players not being welcomed back to their respective clubs, and I just thought it was really sad. You know, he was a wonderful player, been a great servant to the club. I heard he spends a lot of his free time at the training ground with tips and advice. Doesn't need to do this. And I have read, and the piece may be wrong, I don't know if it's anything to do with the recruitment of players. Maybe it has been, maybe he's been given advice, and let's face it, it's been poor. And maybe people are throwing that back in his face, I don't know. But the piece did say that he was always the dissenting voice, that when the board wanted to upgrade somebody's contract, he was always the guy saying, no, maybe not yet. Maybe they've not quite done enough to deserve that upgrade. Let's face it, Everton have been guilty for signing many players over the last few years on massively inflated wages. They've probably got massively inflated egos and done nothing to be deserving of those egos or those wages. And he was the guy, I believe, that was saying, no, we need more out of them before we give them even more money. And you probably have to agree with that, probably with every player they've bought in the last 10 years, because if the players were as good as they thought they were going to be and perform to the wages that they get, Everton won't be in the position they're in now. And that's all I thought. You know, I thought to myself, I wish I was Sean Dyche and I read that. I'd be having him to the last home game against Bournemouth. He'd be sat in the old dugout with me, 2 or 3 down, and I'd be telling the fans on the Thursday, I've got a special guest here with me in the dugout for our last game, and he might even come in and have a chat with the players at half time. I'm not going to tell you who it is, but I don't want anybody, and I mean anybody, to get on his back. And if we go down, I want you to know that it will not be anything to do with this person. It will not be this person's fault. But I'd like this person here with me in the dugout, and I'd like you fans to show him some respect. Maybe I am a bit of not the fantasist, that's not the word, romantic. Yeah, I'm a bit of a romantic, I suppose. The world doesn't work that way, I don't suppose, but it just seems a shame to me. It seems a shame with a player as good as Sharpie, with the class of the guy, hasn't gone to matches since January because he's not felt safe. What a shame. What a shame. Anyway, it's in your own hands now, Everton. You've got every chance of staying up if you do the business on Sunday. I worry for you. I think it's going to be hard to beat them. I think they're not a bad team, and I worry about where your goals are going to come from. But hopefully, the teams below you won't perform. Anyway, more on that later in the week. But for my grandson and my son-in-law's side of things, I do hope you stay up. And that's it from me. Okay, thank you. I just ramble and I do apologise. I do it sometimes. Sometimes there's a bit of meaning in that little thing. Sometimes it's just a ramble. That was a ramble. The next one's about one of my favourite subjects, Old Iggy. That won't be a ramble. That'll be full on, I think. because I've read something just that honestly made me blood boil. It did, honestly.